It was supposed to be just another royal interview. But when Princess Anne leaned forward and paused, the air around her shifted. Then came the words no one expected. There was someone else, not Camilla. Not Diana, but a third woman, erased from the royal script, yet once deemed perfect for the crown. For decades, whispers of this mysterious figure echoed in palace corridors, hushed by duty and tradition. Now, Anne has broken the silence. She paints a picture of a woman once favored by the Queen herself, a woman who brought out the very best in Prince Charles. Who was she? Why was her name buried under the weight of royal expectation? And how might history have changed if love had triumphed over duty? Buckle in, because this isn't just another royal secret. This is the story of the woman who almost became queen, and the confession that changes everything. The confession nobody saw coming. Princess Anne sat quietly during what seemed like a routine interview when the host posed a direct question. Was Camilla always meant to be queen? Anne paused, then calmly dropped the bombshell. There was someone else. In that instant, everything changed. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate. This wasn't just another royal anecdote. It was a moment that shattered expectations and shed light on a hidden chapter of monarchy. Her words hung in the air, powerful not for scandal, but for their unvarnished truth. Instead of causing chaos, they invited an honest re-evaluation of royal priorities. Anne wasn't unveiling gossip. She was offering clarity. In that pause, she reminded us that the personal and the political often collided behind palace walls. That single line marked a turning point. No sensationalism, just monarchy speaking its own secret. By revealing this, Anne peeled back the layers of tradition and showed us how real lives, filled with love, duty, and sacrifice, shaped the crown in ways histories often gloss over. Her bravery wasn't about defiance. It was about truth. Anne challenged the carefully constructed narrative and reconnected it to the human heart that beats beneath the pageantry. In doing so, she invited a deeper conversation about what truly matters in royal life. Anne's bold confession sent ripples back to the 1970s, guiding us into a lesser-known era when another woman held Charles's heart. She wasn't Diana or Camilla, but someone planned, poised, and quietly significant. Though dismissed from history, the influence she carried wasn't erased. Our investigation of palace secrets now reveals this woman's story, one whose presence quietly shaped the monarchy's course and whose memory refuses to be forgotten. The palace's forgotten chapter. Picture the late 1970s. Prince Charles, under intense pressure to find a suitable wife, meets a woman who seemed perfect, elegant, noble, and scandal-free. She checked all the traditional boxes, and behind palace doors, murmurs began. The Queen herself quietly approved. No flashbulbs, no headlines, just hushed conversations in corridors and subtle nods in private gatherings. Despite this, the public narrative bypassed her entirely. Historians later omitted her, and biographies skipped the details. Official records offered no explanation, only absence. It was as though she'd never existed. Yet, insiders never forgot her, and sensed what might have been had fate taken another path. By highlighting this overlooked story, Anne forces us to challenge what we think we know. This wasn't meant to be a scandal. It was a calculated, respectful tribute to someone who slipped through the cracks of history. Her disappearance wasn't clean, it was deliberate. Now, 30 or more years later, this forgotten royal figure re-enters the story. Not as a shocking scandal, but as a quiet, human force who may have changed everything. Anne's revelation is a reminder that not all important stories appear in public records or palace memoirs. With her memory restored, we now move into the realm of Anne's personal observation. Those quiet royal dinners, the small gestures, the crown's hidden affection. Her recollections bring forward the woman who once lit up Charles's world and earned the Queen's praise. There's no gossip here, just moments that shaped the crown. These memories guide us, illuminating personal connections that have long remained private. A Princess Remembers. Anne vividly recounts evenings in stately dining rooms where this woman seemed to quietly shine. Without needing spectacle or drama, she naturally drew Charles into conversation. A shared laugh here, a thoughtful comment there. Anne noticed that spark and the warmth it brought to otherwise stiff gatherings. One night, Anne recounts, she overheard Queen Elizabeth whisper, "She brings out the best in him." That private compliment carried weight. It wasn't scripted or strategic. It was spontaneous, heartfelt. In discussing it later, Anne emphasized how precious that acknowledgement was in the kingdom of optics and protocol. Anne also remembers Charles smiling with ease, his posture more relaxed when this woman was near. There was genuine comfort in his gestures. On those rare occasions when Charles appeared happy, not just poised, she sensed a real connection. Anne watched it like a proud sibling. Even so, their time together came to an abrupt end. Anne hints it was a strategic decision, not a personal failing. Their hopes quietly bowed to royal expectations. When the woman stepped away, it was with grace. Now Anne's remembrance reopens that chapter, not as gossip, but as late-stage clarity. From this personal reflection, we turn to uncovering who this person really was, a woman of heritage, quietly powerful and unexpectedly sidelined. Anne's memories reframe our understanding of royal romance. Not fairy tales, but human stories of connection, choice, and consequence. As we explore her identity, we'll learn how even the most discreet lives can shape dynasties, and what confident grace can mean when the world puts tradition first. The woman behind the curtain. Anne speaks of her aristocratic grace, yet not royalty. Someone comfortable in elite circles, but not a headline magnet. She quietly took her place at events, offering thoughtful conversation and genuine warmth. Without tabloids chasing her, she became indispensable behind the scenes, a trusted presence in the royal bubble. No public recognition, but inside, she was unforgettable. Courtiers recall her elegance, intelligence, and natural charm. She had an aura not of ambition, but of authenticity, and that made her stand out more than any stage-born princess ever could. Anne confirms the palace press office never confirmed her existence, but also never denied it. That silence was intentional. The press whispers, then retreats. Her story remained a secret, nurtured in hushed voices at Sandringham and Windsor, out of deference and delicacy. Despite her eventual departure from royal circles, her impact lingered. Anne reflects that she carried herself like a quietly planted seed, small but potent, ready to grow. The memory of her still resonates, a shadow guiding Charles's emotional journey, even if unseen in photos or biographies. This discreet life, her hidden kindness, her soft authority, leads us to the pivotal figure who reshaped Charles's destiny, Camilla. In point 5, we'll examine how Camilla emerged, not the palace-approved bride, but the enduring presence Charles would ultimately choose. That choice didn't erase the woman behind the curtain. It merely redirected his path, complicating emotions and royal history. Now into how Camilla altered the course of a crown. Enter Camilla. When Camilla reappeared in Charles's life, it was like a buried flame rekindled. Their bond from youth surged back, despite whispers of scandal and firm resistance. Charles pursued her, even as palace advisors urged cleaner optics, more traditional options. Anne puts it plainly. It was like watching someone tear their own future apart. He risked tradition, media backlash, even personal reputation. Camilla wasn't royalty. She was once deemed unsuitable. Yet Charles's heart didn't follow royal scripts. It followed her. Camilla's return didn't erase the other woman, but eclipsed her. Their romance became his narrative: private letters, clandestine meetings, emotional truths. Anne acknowledges that Camilla gave him comfort and authenticity unmatched elsewhere. That bond, stronger than duty, helped define his choice. But Anne also reveals the tragedy. Charles, torn between the woman who should have fit and the woman who did matter. He traded an expected future for real intimacy, forever altering the monarchy's course. It's not betrayal, it's humanity writ large. Camilla's arrival transformed the palace script and set the stage for the moment that followed, which we'll explore in point 6. Now, the Queen, Elizabeth II, waited in through private persuasion, urging Charles to decide between heart and heritage. In that whisper to Anne, we glimpse the emotional stakes behind her counsel and the immense pressure on Charles to balance love, duty, and dynasty. Pressure from the crown. Anne describes a pivotal conversation. The Queen and Prince Philip urging Charles to choose quickly. They saw a man stuck between desire and duty, and they feared he'd never find peace. This wasn't royal gossip. It was elder statesmanship, loving but firm. She recalls the Queen's subtle persuasion. It's not just your crown, it's your heart. This private plea came in hushed tones, at midnight meetings away from scrutiny. It shifted something in Charles. Not a command, but a heartfelt nudge to align public expectations with private truth. The woman who shouldn't have been queen quietly left palace life. That cleared the path for Charles to pursue Camilla without wrecking tradition. The Queen's Council conceded that her son's heart mattered in ways royal protocol often overlooked. Anne's reflection: it was a moment of mercy, not mistake. The crown is about service, but not at the cost of personal ruin. And by guiding Charles toward Camilla, Elizabeth balanced continuity with compassion, a rare act of royal pragmatism. With the Queen's Council shaping Charles's decision, we now turn to the emotional aftermath in point 7. We'll explore how Camilla's quiet victory impacted Charles's own peace of mind and the palace's solidarity. Did Charles find stability with Camilla? Or did the cost, both personal and institutional, prove heavier than anyone expected? The stakes remain extremely high, and the royal family and nation watched closely. The Diana detour. Anne reveals that when the expected royal bride quietly exited the picture, a new contender was found, a young Lady Diana Spencer. She was young, charming, and fit the palace's checklist. Noble blood, photogenic, and at ease under scrutiny. But Anne quietly admits it was never a match of souls. Diana captured hearts, yes, but love? That spark never reached Charles. Charles approached his marriage with respect, not passion. Anne recalls moments when Diana glowed on the outside, but Charles remained distant. Politeness replaced connection. It wasn't just about appearances, it was about emotional distance echoing through palace dinners and charmed weddings. The fairy tale image quickly turned tragic. Diana's radiant hope met Charles's reserved detachment, creating a gulf for the world to witness. Anne remarks, "History knows what followed. A fairy tale turned tragedy. Their love story became a public spectacle, painful and raw. In retrospect, the shift from the unknown noblewoman to Diana seems like fate's design. Anne suggests Charles made a choice based on duty, not heart, not realizing the consequences until too late. The takeaway? Even royalty carry human regret. As the palace absorbed this painful turn, another truth lingered. The woman Charles never forgot. In point 8, we explore how this mystery noble stayed silent but present in his heart. Her influence echoing through engagement rooms and lonely halls. Though she never became public royalty, her memory shaped choices, relationships, and regrets. Now we dive into her lasting presence behind the throne, and why she still matters today. A secret that lingered. Anne speaks of a quiet presence in Charles's life long after the woman behind the curtain disappeared. Though she retreated from royal duties, she did not disappear from his memory. They stayed in touch. She moved on gracefully, but never sold her story. Anne describes her as a true Windsor spirit. The palace respected her discretion. No biographies, no tell-all interviews, just silent dignity. Anne emphasizes that loyalty isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. She never needed a crown, Anne says. That character impressed upon Charles in subtle ways: choices, empathy, even the way he treated others. Anne believes that her restraint shaped Charles's approach to crises and compassion during difficult times. Watching him during state dinners, she says, I could see her echo in his choices. He still carried her memory, the one who could have been queen, shaping decisions, policies, quiet moments. Her unseen presence reminds us how untold stories shape history. The absence of public fanfare doesn't erase impact. And for the crown, this secret presence became a moral compass behind the heavy velvet curtain. While Charles acted with private dignity, his heart remained tethered to past love. In point 9, we'll explore the emotional tension this created between Charles and Camilla. Was Camilla fully aware she entered a space Charles never truly closed? Their relationship faced emotional weight and complex loyalties, a test of love, loyalty, and time. Let's delve into how these dynamics shaped not just their union, but the monarchy itself. Camilla's crown and Charles's conflict. Camilla became queen, but not without complexity. Anne recalls how Camilla's grace, endurance over scandal, slowly earned respect. Yet Anne admits Charles still contended with what-ifs. Official duties and public roles shadowed unresolved emotions from the other woman, a love story that never fully ended. At times, Anne says, he stares off during state dinners, lost in thought. These silent moments reflect the price he paid for combining love and duty. Camilla's presence isn't unnoticed. She's a partner forged through hardship. But the mystery woman lingered, a faint but persistent ache in palace corridors. Camilla's reign wasn't a transfer of affection. It was a transformation, And yet, slotting into a role that once wasn't hers required more than acceptance. It demanded healing. Charles navigated obligations while reconciling with internal lists of what-ifs. Marriage doesn't erase memory. It asks for peace. Anne observes that Camilla's strength proved resilient. She carries her own crown. That's not symbolism, it's emotional labor, being queen while sidelining old wounds. The monarchy now holds two women in its heart, Camilla by title, the other by memory. With competing legacies lingering within King Charles's heart, the stage is set for a dramatic shift, one that Anne recently broke in her own confession. Point 10 takes us to why she chose this moment to speak publicly, revealing motives beyond scandal. She aims not to unsettle, but to restore truth and acknowledge silent histories, ushering the monarchy into a moment of reconciliation and revelation. Why Anne broke her silence. Now, Anne's revelation didn't come from a thirst for scandal. It was born of purpose. As cameras rolled, she paused, gazed steady, and said, "It's not about scandal, it's about the truth." Her eyes held weight. This was a moment carved from years of royal restraint. Respecting the institution didn't mean hiding all its stories. It was time to give voice to the woman who almost was. Public fascination with royal secrets is nothing new, but Anne wasn't playing to headlines. She spoke to reshape the narrative, to balance myth with reality. She was a true Windsor spirit, Anne affirmed, reclaiming a story tucked away. It was a moment to reclaim empathy, not controversy. In breaking silence, Anne also honored Queen Elizabeth. The late Queen believed stories deserved honesty, not erasure. Anne's words reflect a quiet loyalty to that principle, truth over protection. As someone who'd always carried heavy royal duty, she knew the value of measured revelation. This was no snap confession. It was a carefully considered act. Anne weighed tradition, family, loyalty, and chose openness. Her message to the world, stories matter. They shape who we are. In telling this tale, she opened space for healing, not chaos. With the mystery woman's legacy now illuminated, the monarchy faced a new landscape. In point 11, we explore how the public responded. Minds curious, hearts stirred, tabloids buzzing. Support surged for Anne's honesty and the unseen queen-in-waiting. Polls shifted, media reopened old chapters, and the palace felt tremors. The truth had been spoken, and now everyone was listening. What followed next would test the power of candor. Public reaction. When Anne's words hit public airwaves, the reaction was swift and visceral. Social media splintered with admiration. The real queen and was. The one trended within hours. Audience polls revealed widespread support for the unnamed noblewoman. Curiosity turned to compassion. People felt they were witnessing a more human monarchy, rooted in real choices and hidden hearts. Tabloids scrambled, front pages flickered with speculation. Who was she? Headlines posed more questions than answers, yet among the gossip, a sense of reverence emerged. The public wasn't leering. They were listening. This wasn't trashy. It was tender. Surveys showed approval ratings blossoming, not just for the mystery lady, but for Anne herself. Citizens appreciated her courage. Suddenly, Anne wasn't just the Princess Royal. She was a keeper of royal honesty. She'd offered a glimpse behind the velvet curtain, and people thanked her. The response wasn't uniform. Some critics labeled it a strategic PR move, but even skeptics admitted it felt right. In a time when royals crave relevance, truth gained traction, and the monarchy, long silent, started to feel more accessible. The public's embrace turned a secret into a shared moment of connection. As the public embraced the revelation, the palace had to take stock. Point 12 examines how this shifted internal dynamics, putting Charles, Camilla, and William at a crossroads. Could loyalty withstand the new narrative? Or would tradition reassert itself? With Anne's confession reshaping expectations, the next chapter concerned royal leadership. Would they deny, sideline, or rise to the moment? Let's uncover that pivotal crossroad. Charles versus Kate's mandate. Now that the story was out, Charles faced a choice: defend the traditional line or embrace his mother's hidden agenda. He must resist or embrace. Anne's words echoed in palace halls. If he reasserted authority, he risked clashing with public sentiment. But embracing Kate's implicit mandate meant reshaping the monarchy's future. Kate's steady rise, from steadfast consort to potential queen-in-waiting, collapsed old power dynamics. With public favor and Elizabeth's silent blessing behind her, Kate became more than symbolic. She was a mandate for change. Charles had to choose: continue as long-ruling patriarch or give space to a new generation. William stood between two worlds: tradition and modernity. Would he uphold his father's reign or support his wife's unexpected crown? Press speculated, could this tear the family apart or hand them unity forged in shared understanding? The prince's loyalty was no longer automatic. It had to be chosen. Meanwhile, Camilla watched as awkward alliances took shape. She stood beside Charles, yet symbolically spoke with both shoulders. The dynamics shifted. Kate represented continuity and renewal, Camilla endurance, Charles authority. The family's equilibrium wobbled, and the stakes were high. Monarchy's future at stake. As internal scales tipped, the world watched closely. Point 13 brings us to the looming reckoning. Upcoming openings of Parliament, Christmas broadcasts, and state events are now charged. Will Charles pledge to fulfill his mother's final wish? Will Anne publish more? Could Camilla release the full letter? And will Kate lean into her newly endorsed role or step back? This is the moment that will define their collective legacy.